Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan. Today I'm excited because this is one of my favorite things to do. I get a lot of samples that get sent in from viewers, from patrons, people in our Discord community, and they end up sometimes just kind of stacking up. So what I like to do sometimes is just tell my wife, pick two. Just pick them. We'll have them go head to head. We'll see which one wins, just in a blind taste. And then after that, I will reveal what they were. So the slips are underneath the coasters. So I know that there's a pretty wide variety of things that get sent into me. Some is like people's unicorns, the things they're super proud of, the things they love. And then other times it's like, I just found this on a shelf, tried it, kind of liked it, sent you a sample. Or it's like, this is something really local and very specific, and I sent it to you. So I have no idea how this is going to turn out, but I'm excited for it either way. And obviously when I'm editing this video, I will know at that point what these have been. So I'll put them on the screen for you so you can follow along and know what I'm tasting as I taste it. Sound good? First up, let's give it a nose. I suppose I should do visual inspection first, yeah? Looks, I would say, somewhat viscous, somewhat oily. Getting some nice little runs coming down the side of the glass. It's not super thin, that's for sure. Nose on it makes me think of apples and charcoal. I should probably write my notes down so I can, as I'm scoring these or rating these later, I can refer back to my notes. Last one. We said apples, charcoal. Cool. Yeah, I think of apple cider and a campfire on the nose, for sure. Actually, it's a really nice nose. But it's not, like, super strong either. It's, I wouldn't say muted, but it's a little more, I think it's got some manners. It's not accosting your nostrils or anything like that. It's got some manners. Some nice notes on that. Let's give it a try, shall we? Cheers. I mean, as advertised. Getting the charred wood, getting those apple notes coming through, that bright fruit coming through, you know, fully front and center. There's also like almost like a saltwater taffy kind of a note in there as well. Tail end of the palate and into the finish. I'm getting some barrel funk that you would get off of a well-aged product. Something that sat in a hot, damp warehouse for a while in that boozy air. Honestly, it's pretty good. If I could get nitpicky about one thing, I would say it's a little top-heavy. Bright, fruity, sweet, with some of that burnt wood in there, but I want some base notes. Maybe things like chocolates and espressos, or deep, dark caramel notes. And that bottom end is what I think would elevate this sip even more if it had some more of that. Honestly, it's pretty crushable, though. I would say proof-wise, low hundreds, high 90s. Maybe right there in the middle will be a Bottle and Bond product. But it doesn't taste super hot, so I don't think it's like 110s and above. But it's also not super weak either, so I doubt it's 90s and below. So somewhere in that, you know, upper 90s, low 100s, if I had to guess. And it's not a rye either. It's probably a bourbon. Cool, let's move on. Getting in here on glass number 2. Vanilla bean. Some candied maraschino cherries. A little bit of cinnamon and oak on that, like your allspice. I always make this, sometimes I get this note where it smells like allspice or cinnamon that was rubbed into the grains of like an oak plank, you know what I mean? Because it feels like those two are inseparable, like they're one note harmoniously instead of two separate notes. But that's what I get, that allspice in the oak on the nose. Let's try it, shall we? Cheers. Really sweet and tannic simultaneously. It's a lot of your traditional bourbon flavors. Getting the vanilla, getting the caramel. That cherry note we were getting on the nose, it does come back around really late in the palate though, almost pushing into the finish. That cherry just kind of has a quick flyby on the back of my tongue there. The finish is actually kind of, I think it's more nutty than I was getting. I wasn't really getting any nutty notes on the nose, but pushing into the finish, that's where I'm getting these nutty notes, like slivered almonds. But again, this one, I feel like it's minding its manners too much. Like, I feel like there's some good stuff in there. I want it to be a little bit more assertive with some of those notes, but they're a little bit more subtle. This feels like it was designed for someone who wanted to just sit down and have a really palatable pour that maybe has some age on it. It tastes like it's got some age on it, but it's also not being really aggressive with those notes either. It's not hitting me with a ton of proof. It's minding its manners, and I kind of wish it wouldn't. I want it to act up a little bit, be a little ornery, because I think the notes that are in there are really good, and with a little bit more proof under it, I think that, man, some of those notes would really shine quite a bit more. I think that cherry note would come forward a little bit more, and I wish it wasn't as suppressed as it is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a quick sip of both of these again, give some final notes, and then I will say which one I prefer of the two. Sound good? And having them side by side again, The first sip really does lean more into the those campfire notes, which I feel like it kind of depends on your mood. Right now, I really vibe with that. I really like that. And the second one is much more of those sweets, the caramels, the vanillas, those traditional bourbon notes. So I think you could go either way on this. It depends on what kind of a mood you're in. Like if you want the sweet, if you're in the mood for just something traditional, I think that Glass 2 would be the pick. But if you're in the mood for something that's going to give you a lot of like brown sugary oak and burnt oak notes, those campfires mixed in with the sweetness, and that bright fruit that we were getting, that apple note on glass number 1, I think I'm just sort of more in the mood for that right now, today. But like I said, I think you could go either way on this depending on, it could depend on what you had for lunch, could dictate what you're into right now. So for me, I'm going to go with Glass A tonight. And by tonight, I mean this afternoon. And by this afternoon, I mean this morning, because it's 11:35 a.m. right now. I don't know why I said tonight. It's just sort of like something you do, right? I don't know. Okay, Glass 1. Well, actually, let's find out what Glass 2 is first, since that's not the one I picked. Sound good? So this is... Really? Well, it sort of makes sense, I guess. This is the 1792 12 year. So that's got some age on it. 1792. I like 1792. I've got a couple of bottles of 1792 on my shelf right now. The full proof, bottled and bond. I do like 1792. 12 years is a lot of age on it. Let me look that bottle up real quick, just so I don't misspeak on things like proof and cost. MSRP on this is it's only $60. That's pretty reasonable, actually, for a 12-year product. Comes in at 96.6 proof. So yeah, it's not even like the bottled and bond proof. It's lower than that. That kind of makes sense because I had said that I wish that it had some more proof on it to let some of those notes, like the cherry notes, shine through a little bit more and come to the forefront. I really like this sip, but I think that I would prefer, like, for example, I've got my, where's it at? I didn't kill that bottle, did I? Here. This is my 1792 full proof. And I feel like having that extra proof on it, because this is 125 proof. This is almost a full 30 proof points hotter. And I really like this bottle, hence the volume that's left in the bottle. Yeah, immediately on the nose, I can get some of that cherry note. So, age 12 years, 1792. Maybe more of a palatable sip. Something that's going to have some more manners on it. So if that's what you're in the mood for, it was a good sip. All right, let's see what the winner was. No shot. This is George Dickel, bottled and bond, 13 year, 100 proof. So both of these were pretty close in the proof department. So this is the bottled and bond 100 proof from George Dickel, aged 13 years. That sort of makes sense with the campfire notes we were getting on it. Lincoln County process. You know what's wild about that though is it's a 13-year-old product. I think the MSRP on that is $40. $40. That's pretty cheap for something that's aged 13 years. A lot of times there's like this sort of rule of thumb that you're going to pay about $10 for every year of age on a bourbon. And that's not like are you kidding me? I don't know if I have children or if I have elephants. They're home from school for the summer, and I just hear dot, 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 dot on the floor above me all the time. But anyways, it's not like a solid rule. I mean, there's a lot of exceptions to it. But generally speaking, if you're sort of gauging value on a product, one of the things people like to do is say, well, if it's a 10-year product, I shouldn't pay more than $100 for it. Something like that. But the fact that this is 13-year-old Tennessee whiskey for $40, I mean, in terms of value, I think that that's probably a bit of a steal. I really enjoyed this. It beat a $60 bottle today. So I'll give it that. Hats off to George Dickel. I'm not even a Dickel fan. I never buy Dickel products because I've not had one that I was like, yeah, I really want to get that again when I compare it to other things on the same shelves. But I have not had the Bottled and Bond 13 year before. And for $40, I mean, it kind of makes sense. I should put this on my shelf. I think this was sent in by Jeff in our Discord community. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you. Very kind of you, brother. And I want to say the 1792 was supplied by Dairy, Delicious Dairy. Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all. Well, there you have it. George Dickel takes the gold today in the head-to-head bourbon throwdown. Well, I can't say bourbon throwdown. Tennessee whiskey versus bourbon head-to-head throwdown. It actually kind of worked out pretty well because this was well orchestrated because we got a 13-year versus a 12-year, so very close in age. A 100 proofer versus a 96 proofer, so very close in proof as well. And there's only one state line in between the two of them, so kind of works out. I enjoyed that. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Well, hey, if this is your first time here on the channel, feel free to hit the subscribe button, stick around, kick your shoes off, stay a while. If you enjoyed the video, you can leave a like. It's the best free way to support the content here on YouTube. And a big shout out to my Patreon supporters for all the love you show me and the way that you provide the funds to pick up the bottles that we get to review here on the channel. I really appreciate y'all. Cheers, my friends. May you live richly and get better with age. And hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.